So I quickly wanted to go over what the course has to offer. I first want to start off by saying this course is essentially built to be a fundamental stepping stone for you to enter the world of faceless YouTube channels. And of course, there will be valuable stuff for more experienced people, but the basis of this course is basically to give you the right resources, connection, and fundamental knowledge of YouTube to become successful with faceless YouTube channel. So one thing I really believe in is that you can't be the expert in everything. Essentially, there's always going to be people who are better than you at certain parts. Like, for example, there's better editors than me. There's better people who know a lot about storytelling, or there's people that are better at thumbnails, retention, stuff like this. In general, I'm very good at YouTube automation, but there are people who are better at specific things than me. So essentially, not only do I want to teach you the fundamentals of YouTube to first become a generalist, but then I want to give you the resources, links, connections, stuff like this to become an expert on some areas. So this course is essentially built around you having the right resources, knowledge to get started, as well as that I wanted the course to be as clear-cut and concise as possible. I don't want to drag out the course very, very long. That's very boring to watch. Like, I personally wouldn't watch a course that's very long and dragged out. I'm trying to summarize what YouTube automation or YouTube faceless channels is about in as short of a period as I possibly can. This way I optimize your time, and hopefully it sticks better when I just stick to the main points of YouTube automation and not go too much into the details. I do have to say I will be adding a lot of specialized videos. So we'll also be going over how to integrate AI into your YouTube workflow. We'll be going very extensive into, okay, how to use ChatGPT, how to use things like Midjourney to basically speed up your workflow. Those things will all be added to the course. But for now, I'll be focusing on the fundamentals. Keep in mind that if you bought the course on pre-sale on April 15th, that essentially there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be added to the course itself. So stuff like AI, copyright issues, MCN, how to sell your channel, sponsorships, those things will all be added. The course will be really extensive, but we'll be adding that on the 1st of May. So keep this in mind. Those things are coming. But yeah, essentially, this is what it is right now. There will be a bunch of templates added on the 1st of May too. So just keep an eye open after the 1st of May so you can also catch that new content if you've bought this course on pre-sale. Anyway, thank you very, very much for purchasing, and have a good time watching the course. When it comes to my personal brand, I want to be as transparent as I possibly can. So that's why I first want to tell you about, okay, what should you expect when you start YouTube automation? First, I want to start off by saying that it's not a get rich quick. It's not. It's simply not like dropshipping or not like any other business model. You have to understand YouTube takes a ton and a ton of skill. And not only skill, you have to be good at nearly every single element. You have to be a good HR director. You have to understand how thumbnails work and how to manipulate psychology to get people to click on your thumbnails. You have to understand how to be a good storyteller, a good video editor, a good scriptwriter. You all have to understand these things, and you have to get good at these skills. But once you master these skills, YouTube automation is one of the best business models to start now. So keep in mind that learning this and seeing any results will take you months, probably a minimum of 6 months it will take you to see any results. Some people get lucky, and that's like survivor bias. Like, some people get lucky really quickly, but it personally took me years to become successful on YouTube. And you have to keep that in mind. It's not overnight success. It's something you have to work hard at, but still, it's a really good business model regardless. So I want to warn you, if you're not committed to it, I wouldn't recommend investing your time and money in YouTube automation. You have to understand it takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes a lot of effort to see results. But once you get it, once you get the skill and the switch goes off in your head, and you understand how the business works, and you understand how to replicate your success, that's when it's the best business model ever, because it's just passive income. You can set up these channels, they can make you money passively, and it's a great investment for the long run. So hopefully you kind of understand where I'm coming from. And again, enjoy the course. But yeah, please do keep this in mind. It's not a get rich quick. You have to put in that work. So anyway, good luck. All right. There's one more thing I want to get across to you before you actually start getting into the actual course, which is how much should you invest into YouTube automation? And I think this is really a good thing to talk about before you even get started, because you have to put that clearly inside your mind, and you shouldn't be overspending. So I just want to go over a few guidelines I would recommend when you're starting out on YouTube automation. The first one is that I recommend you invest or set a budget aside of $3,000. And essentially, this is just a set budget, like $3,000. And I would recommend sticking to that budget. Don't go over that budget too much. And especially don't spend any money you don't have. If you don't have play money laying around, like $3,000, I would recommend first really saving up and not jeopardizing any personal living expenses. You first want to make sure your own lifestyle is taken care of, and then you can start investing in upgrading that lifestyle by getting a second income stream. So keep in mind that that $3,000 is money you have to be able to play with, and you shouldn't mind too much if you lose that money. It shouldn't be your last savings. Don't invest your last savings, because just like with any other business, there is a bunch of risk, and if you lose your last savings, that would be horrible. So then again, make sure you only invest money you can play with, money you can afford to lose. Another thing I would suggest doing is scaling your spendings over time. In the first few months of YouTube automation, you will make a bunch of really, really stupid mistakes. You will choose the wrong video editor, you will hop into the wrong niche and spend a bunch of money in the wrong niche and basically fail there. And you have to make sure that you expect these mistakes. There's always going to be like learning money involved, and make sure that you try and limit that loss at the start. Try and manage your risk. So at the start, when you just start with your own channel, make sure you only invest a small portion of your budget so you don't lose everything in one go. So make sure to really only start spending when your channel starts breaking even or your channel starts earning money. Because once your channel breaks even and your channel actually turns a profit, that's when you can scale as much as you want. As long as you're covering that budget or you're covering those costs, you can scale as much as you want. But before that, please make sure you manage your risk and scale up those spendings in the long run. So I would recommend maybe spending around $600 a month on videos. $600 to $850 a month would be okay. So around 2 to 3 videos a week, I think would be appropriate for a beginner. And then I think if you only spend around $650 a month, you should probably be lasting around 4 or 5 months. And that should be enough for you to see success in YouTube automation. The last thing I want you to keep in mind is that this will be an exponential process. So essentially you will be making a loss for a long while, and then all of a sudden it will shoot up. Just like with any other business, it takes a long run before you see success. So it's essentially the 80-20 rule. Once you start uploading and one of the videos takes off and goes viral, you will immediately earn back all your investment. That's it. Like overnight, you will probably earn easily $3,000 from a video if it really gets a few million views. So keep that in mind. You will usually run a loss for a bit on the channel. I do that a lot as well. Like for maybe a month sometimes or 2 months, I will be running a loss on the channel, and then all of a sudden the video takes off and I make my money back 5 times over. So keep in mind that's usually how the progress goes. But don't let that make you overconfident. Make sure to only spend within the money you can lose. So don't overspend on YouTube automation. So only when you don't jeopardize your personal lifestyle, you can keep investing. So yeah, I hope that bit of transparency and bit of honesty will really help you. Don't be too afraid to, of course, invest, but just make sure you're cautious. As with any other business or any other investment, you have to make sure you're playing it a little bit safe and you're managing your own risks. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. This is probably one of the most important principles when it comes to YouTube automation. Essentially, it's seeing YouTube as a market. You're probably wondering, what do you mean seeing YouTube as a market? Well, just like any market, YouTube has both supply and demand. Essentially, your demand is your viewers and what they want to watch, and your supply is the YouTubers or the people on YouTube creating content. Now, normal YouTubers, what they do is, they take years to build up their personal brand. They have to spend years creating a connection with their audience. It takes a lot of time, hard work, essentially to create that connection, essentially to create that demand within their viewers for their content. Instead, what we do with YouTube automation channels, and this is by far the most important principle, is making sure that we leech onto something that already has large amounts of demand. And viewing YouTube automation as trying to fill gaps in supply and demand is essentially what it is all about. So just in this video, I'm going to show you some simple principles to figure out where to find demand within YouTube. So one of the ways to essentially do this is look at channels that have blown up really, really quickly. So how you do this is by looking, for example, by going to YouTube and going to your YouTube tab and searching in certain keywords. So for example, recently there has been a meme on Instagram and YouTube as well, and it's called President's Play. So you've probably seen this meme come by all the time, and it's been blown up all across the internet, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And you can see this back within the supply and demand structure of YouTube itself. So for example, if you go to this month, so to kind of see the most recent video, you want to sort on this month, 4 to 20 minutes, because you want to filter out all the YouTube shorts and go to view count. Essentially, you can see that there's smaller channels, for example, like this one with 3,000 subscribers, just recently started, which already have 1 million views on a video. For a normal YouTuber to do something like that, it takes years and years of work. But essentially, once they're leeching onto these certain trends and certain formats, they're already succeeding. So it all comes down to making sure you fill those gaps. And that's all you have to do. It's literally finding the opportunities and executing on the opportunities and then automating that workflow. Now, what's really important to note is that there is a downside to this. And that downside is you don't create a personal connection with the audience you build. Essentially, you're just leeching off trends, which means, yeah, sure, you'll get a lot of views, but it's not something that's as sustainable, for example, as the popularity of someone who's been building their audience for years. So do keep this in mind. That is the big downside when it comes to YouTube automation. Now, another way in figuring out really quickly where the supply is short and the demand is high is using a software like I've been building. So here you have Nextlev, and essentially what it does is it scans YouTube for it scans millions and millions of channels each day, and it's looking for channels where supply and demand is out of balance. So we've built in a bunch of filters essentially, and these filters, they will allow you to filter out the channels that just have recently started and have immediately blown up. That signal, that important signal where channels blow up really quickly just when they start, you can find those channels really quickly with this software. So essentially, you can do multiple things, but we'll get back to this later. But this is a really valuable way of finding these high demand, low supply channels. Another really good way in finding these is looking at channels where they have huge outliers on a certain format. So think about a channel that normally does maybe 10,000 views, and then all of a sudden, if they do a certain type of video, it blows up. So for example, look at this channel. It started 3 months ago, and essentially you see this video with old people who are really fit, and that video did really well, 2.2 million views. Then they switched to another format, which performed horribly, 3.9K. Again, 16K. Well, this one did pretty okay, so it might be interesting. But then again, boom, 1.8 million views on the same format as the previous one. Again, then they continue doing these. They don't do as well, the food content. And essentially they keep going, doesn't do well. They do another one where people show how fit they are at an old age, 500K views. And you can see this pattern keeps reoccurring throughout the channel. And again, this is a very clear signal as to the fact that there is a high amount of demand and a low amount of supply. It's just really obvious that this format is something people are looking for, and because there's no other channels doing it, they're blowing up really quickly. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to follow this method. Like, this is the way I do YouTube automation. You can also take a different route. Look at channels like Moon or Magnets Media. They're still taking the route of like normal YouTubers. Of course, they leech on trends, but they're mainly focusing on creating really, really high quality content. And again, building that personal connection with the viewer and building an expectation with the viewer that they deliver high quality content. So that's another way to do it. But again, I don't recommend it for beginners because you have to have a lot of experience in creating really good YouTube content. So it's way easier just focusing on filling the gaps in the market and executing well on it instead of building that market yourself, because that takes a very long time. Anyway, thank you for watching the video about supply and demand. In the next video, we'll be talking about market saturation and how to judge market saturation. One of the most important things people forget is they've been looking at supply and demand, but then they totally forget about market saturation. So often people are searching for niches and they find a niche and they think, hey, there's a bunch of demand there. And then they jump into the niche and boom, the channel fails. But why? Well, usually the problem is, yes, there might be a niche where there's a bunch of demand, but that doesn't mean necessarily it's a good niche. We also need to be looking at the supply factor. So that's why it's really important to understand market saturation and making sure you can identify when a market is saturated. So in this video, I'm just going to show you a few things to watch out for, essentially, and these principles will basically help you to avoid really saturated niches. So one thing you do really have to understand is the difference between topic saturation and format saturation. For example, if you look at the laptop right here, you can see when it comes to Elon Musk, there's a bunch of demand. You know, he gets a bunch of views. You know, the channels that talk about Elon Musk do really, really well. But the topic of Elon Musk is quite like this format where they do like news items and like warnings of Elon Musk. That's quite saturated. You can see it. You can find hundreds of channels on the subject. As you can see, Elon Musk Evolution, SpaceX Live, Elon Musk Zone, all these channels doing the exact same format over and over and over again. Does that necessarily mean the topic Elon Musk is saturated? No, not necessarily. Does that mean this format is saturated? 100%. Yes. So make sure to differentiate between topic saturation and format saturation, because there could be still opportunity here, and I'm not saying that's guaranteed. But if you, for example, look at maybe Elon Musk compilations, the saturation levels on that format, like a compilation, might be different from the news videos. So it's really important to, when you're doing niche research and you find a saturated format, maybe try looking at different formats to see if you can still find a gap in the market over there. But again, the rules still apply. Make sure when you look at that format, if it's been done already 100 times over, don't enter that market. So essentially, that's a really important factor to consider. Okay, so now we've gone over that, I want to go over a few steps with you guys to kind of understand when a niche is too saturated. So you can kind of follow along with these steps and check it for your own niche and see if your niche is also too saturated. So a good example for a really saturated niche is the Elon Musk niche. So we'll use that as an example. So first of all, you want to go to the main keywords. If you check my laptop here, and you can essentially just search up Elon Musk. And the question is, if I go to this month and then view count, and 4 to 20 minutes, again, 4 to 20 minutes to filter out all the shorts, can I find 5 to 10 really big competitors that are doing Elon Musk content? So for example, you have one here, 110,000 subscribers, quite large. If you keep scrolling, you will probably find a bunch more. Again, another one with nearly 1 million subscribers. If you keep going, you will keep finding channels within the Elon Musk niche that are doing the exact same format as each other. And obviously, they're all still working. But if there's a bunch of really, really big channels, chances are that there's also hundreds and hundreds of smaller channels that have failed. So if there's 10 big competitors in the same niche doing the exact same format, that's already a really big red flag. So again, if there's 10 people making videos on Elon Musk, the topic, it might not be as bad as 10 people making the Elon Musk news videos. So again, topic saturation is different from format saturation. So keep that in mind when doing research. So especially in the Elon Musk niche, you can see they're literally all doing the same format where it's like Elon Musk reveals something. So that kind of gives you a good idea that essentially that part of the market is already really saturated. But maybe you can still differentiate by maybe doing compilations or documentaries or maybe another format. Like a good example is this channel where they talk about AI, Elon Musk and an AI, and essentially they're still leveraging the topic Elon Musk, but they're not doing the same format as all the other channels. So even though they were not really uploading a lot, they were doing really well because they were still differentiating themselves from that news format and still leveraging that same topic that was not as saturated yet. So yeah, this is a great example of the difference between topic and format saturation. Okay, so once you've checked if there were 10 major players in the same topic, same format, and they've been around for a long time, that's another very important factor. If those channels have been doing videos on that topic or format for a very long time, let's say 2-3 years, that's also a very good indicator that a niche might be saturated. The shorter a niche exists, the less likely it is to be saturated. So watch out for niches where there's a lot of competitors that are really, really old. So always look at channel creation dates or the first video uploaded when doing niche research, because this is, again, also a really important factor. So another way to measure saturation is by looking at the newer channels being created. So it's really important to understand that, okay, yes, there might be successful channels here, like there's a lot of successful channels, but you have to understand for all those successful channels to exist, there's a huge layer of unsuccessful channels under them. And those are also really important to analyze, and you have to also understand why they failed. So one way to do it is typing in a title similar to the one the big channels use, and essentially going to a week time frame. So if you can find a bunch of competition here, that already says a lot already. But say you find more channels, and usually the smaller channels, they copy the bigger channels. So that's why searching on the same title will often give you really good results. Yeah, you can basically see the smaller channels. So this one is like medium large. But again, like this channel, it's been uploading really consistently. The quality doesn't look that bad. Like the thumbnails look decent. But again, they're just not getting off the ground. They're getting maybe 20,000 views maximum. And that's just a clear-cut sign of market saturation, because essentially market saturation is also indicated by, say, someone enters a niche, right? And there's already a lot of saturation. The quality level is already quite high. So to compete with existing channels, you have to get videos that are high quality. Often what you see in unsaturated niches, and I'll show you right now, is that you can enter with really bad quality and the videos will still do well regardless. All right, so let's look at some examples of good niches or unsaturated niches where you can clearly see that there's a bunch of channels that are essentially doing pretty bad quality videos, but are still doing really well. So let's, for example, have a look at this niche where it's like fitness stories of old people. And you have this channel right here. And what you can do is you can essentially type in the title they're using. So secrets of fitness 91-year-old. You can type in that title. And often enough, you see other people copying this channel. That's what they do. So the bigger channels always get copied. And that's a really good way to do research because you can see what other people's results were before you even enter the niche. So let's go to view count this month because you're going to want to look at the recent timescales for the 20 minutes. If you don't see any results on this month, just make it a little bit older. But then again, look at this. So you have this channel, right? And the quality is not really that good. But even like with this bad thumbnail quality, it still is putting millions and millions of views per video. Same here, you find another channel. The quality is pretty bad. The thumbnail quality is pretty bad, but still they're putting 166k views and they've just started recently on this channel, right? Again, and they do this format over and over and over again. 1.4 million views even. So, this is a clear-cut sign of unsaturation where you see all these new channels. The niche is now slowly getting saturated because it's a little bit older, but you will see a lot of new channels popping off and not a lot of large established competitors. So maybe in this niche, there's only one large established competitors and it's this one. So that's a really good sign because you want to be looking at, okay, are there large established competitors? No, in this niche, no, there's not really large established competitors. Have they started recently? Yes, most of these channels have started in the last 3 months. You can also see the quality is quite bad. So that saturation level with quality is not as high. And those are really good signs that a niche is unsaturated. Another niche, that's a great example, is the President's Place niche. We've went over this niche before. Again, if you go to a view count, you can even sort on this week. And then 4 to 20 minutes. You will most likely be able to find, again, like here, you have one competitor that has been doing it for maybe 22 videos. They've been doing really well, but only 3 weeks ago. And then you have another channel here, which only has 15 videos, started 12 days ago. So, and they've already amassed around nearly 1 million views. So again, same thing here. Not a lot of established competitors. A lot of smaller channels popping off. There's still a lot of space to innovate on the quality. You often in these niches, for example, this niche and another good example of this is this channel. So essentially, this is like a channel where they tell like stories of people. And you can kind of see like the thumbnails are pretty bad. The videos themselves are literally just stock footage. If you just watch the videos, they're essentially all stock footage. So it's like pictures, really bad stock footage, and there's a lot of room to improve still. So these are really clear-cut signals in order to judge saturation. I also wanted to go over some of the niches to kind of watch out for. So a few really saturated niches, and you can look at them yourself just to kind of understand what a saturated niche looks like, is cryptocurrency, Elon Musk, everything to do with motivation, like motivational videos is really saturated. Those are really good niches to look at just to kind of understand, like, okay, what does a saturated niche look like? Another niche that's also good to look at is maybe the military niche. Those are good guidelines to kind of compare other niches to, if you want to check like, oh, does it look like a saturated niche, yes or no? So now you've got a few niches to kind of look at, okay, like to understand, okay, this is what an unsaturated niche looks like, and this is what a saturated niche looks like. So I hope you now can have a clear-cut understanding of unsaturated and saturated, and hopefully you can implement this in your own research. All right, we've judged the saturation, we've looked at supply and demand. Now it's time to understand how to look at a channel and how to see when it's interesting to save or maybe jump into a certain niche. So we're just going to run through a few steps and a few example channels to understand when a channel is interesting to start or not. So the first thing you must look at when starting a new channel is, when did the competitors start? Are they successful? And how consistent is their success? And are there others that are replicating this success? So those are three really important factors. I'm just going to run you through with an example. So again, we're going to be looking at the fitness secrets. So you have this channel. It started 2 months ago. Again, they are using this exact format. The first video got 400,000 views. Again, same format. 700, 150. So that format is really, really consistent. But essentially, the next thing we want to look at, we see, okay, it's been started in the last 2 months. So a question I often get asked when looking at these channels is, okay, when is a channel too old to look at? So my rule of thumb is usually I want to have a channel that started in the last 3 months or so. For me, the absolute maximum is 6 months. But if I start a channel where my example channel has been started more than 6 months ago, the odds, like certain factors like the RPM, their views, the ease of making that content has to be really, really, really favorable to me. So essentially, it has to have a high RPM, a lot of views. Those are really important if I'm starting, if I'm using an example channel that is older than 6 months. But yeah, rule of thumb, try to find channels that are less than 3 months old. That's what I would usually recommend. So as you can see, for this niche, this channel started 2 months ago. Then you have this channel, again, not too many videos, started 3 months ago. There's a few other channels with this format that also started like 2 months ago, even less. So that's a really good sign that this is a good niche, but this is not the only thing to look at when deciding if a niche is interesting to you or not. So the next few things you have to look at is understanding, okay, is the niche monetizable? So that's really important. So the way to figure out is a niche monetizable is the following. First, you have to check, is a channel monetized? You can do this by downloading this really nice Chrome extension called Is YouTube Channel Monetized? I'll link it in the course, so you're able to install it on your own YouTube. But essentially, this channel is monetized, and if you look at the other channels, it's also monetized. So that's a really good sign. In some cases, people jump into niches where most of the channels are not monetized. And yeah, okay, you might have a viral video, but it doesn't matter if a channel is not monetized. So again, this is really, really important. Another factor of monetization is understanding, okay, how much money or can I earn enough money with this niche? So my rule of thumb is that a niche should, by a big margin, like it should easily do 10K a month. So essentially, the way to judge this is the biggest channel in your niche at least doing $20,000? So what you can do is you can get your calculator out. You can use vidIQ to track the monthly views. And then essentially do the following formula. It's 3.1 million. And then you divide the amount of views by 1,000. Since RPM is calculated in increments of 1,000 views per certain amount of money. And then you multiply it by the estimated RPM. I will teach you later in the course, if you don't know what RPM or how to judge RPM, if you don't know how to do that, I will teach you later in the course. So don't worry. But for now, I'll just show you how to do it. So let's say the estimated RPM on this niche is around $6 or $7. We multiply it. As you can see, this channel is nearly doing $18,000 a month. So that would be, probably a good niche. If there's other channels in the niche doing around that same figure or doing above $10,000 a month, that is a very good signal. So preferably you would obviously get channels that are a little bit higher than $10,000 a month. So maybe 20, 30K would be a really good indicator that a niche is big enough. But try to really aim for $10,000 plus a month when it comes to YouTube automation. So another thing that's really important is understanding the following few factors, which is how big is your moat? So with moat, I mean, how hard is it for new competitors to enter your niche market? You also have to understand how hard it is for you to produce your own content. So for some niches, they might look really nice, like, for example, niches that use 3D animations, but they're really, really difficult to replicate because it's really intensive to create that type of content. So you have to understand, if I look, for example, at this channel, right? Can I make these videos? Are these videos easy to replicate? Yes. Meaning there's no moat, since there's no copyright issues, there's no limited ad issues. It's simply a niche to really easily enter, and there's no real production cost. But for example, if you look at niches like this, where you have channels doing 3D animations, and the 3D animations are doing really well, you have to understand, like, most beginners won't be able to make this type of content because this might cost you $500 a minute of animation. So you also have to see, okay, is this achievable with production, and how high you kind of want to aim for. How high can I make the moat? So essentially, okay, maybe you do have a budget. So how far or how high can you take the quality, and thus how high can you make the moat? So my tip would be, try to, as much as possible, create a moat within your niche. So upping the quality, creating multiple channels. Is that possible within your niche? For example, with this one, you could probably create multiple channels. For example, with this niche, it's already quite secure by itself because, 3D animations is really hard to replicate. Or maybe you can do different types of format. You can do old people working out compilations, stuff like this. Can you expand or secure the position in your niche? Is that possible? That's also a really good factor to look at, because it's really important that you try and establish your position for the long run. If not, your success will not be lasting very long. In some cases, you come up with a niche, or you come up with a certain idea, but there's nothing to show you that it's worked in the past. What do you do in that moment? So there's a few things to judge if a niche is interesting if there's no example channels out there. One of the ways to do so is checking if the subject or the idea you have performs well as a one-off video on other channels. So, for example, if you look at top 10 channels, like, for example, we can use the Secret of Fitness, you will probably find that good niches are outlier videos. So videos that get more views than the average on existing channels. So if you look at the fitness niche, like the old fitness niche, you can see right here, this old lady on Good Morning America scored really well. So essentially, that's a good sign that a niche might be interesting. As you can see, like, most videos on Good Morning America don't get too many views. But that video about that lady doing fitness, again, did really, really well. So that might be a really good indicator that even if there's no existing example channels, that your niche still might be interesting. Another way of judging it is doing the same method, but with short form content on TikTok or Instagram Reels. You can also do it with YouTube Shorts, of course. But essentially kind of looking, is there any certain type of content that is consistently doing well in short form and is an outlier, essentially? It's like, okay, when they post this certain format that I'm planning to do in long form, it always does better than the rest of their content. So that's something to watch out for. Another way to kind of judge if a niche would be good to jump in without any other example channels would be going to Google Trends and kind of checking, okay, is there enough search volume? So for example, fitness, you can go fitness and you can go worldwide and then going to YouTube search and like kind of gauging if you compare fitness to other subjects like tennis, like other established niches, you can just compare it to those. And if you see that there's a larger search interest, for example, tennis or NBA, you can kind of in that way see if there's enough search volume. So say, for example, you know there's very popular NBA channels, right? And you want to make a channel about fitness or another really specific thing. You can kind of compare the popularity of a thing to other existing channels. And this way you can still kind of gauge if there's enough search volume or interest for you to make a successful channel. Yeah, so essentially those are the most important factors when judging if a niche is interesting or not. In the next video, we'll be discussing the mindset when it comes to searching for the right niches. So stay tuned for that, because that's also a really, really important factor of making sure you consistently find the right niches to use for your YouTube channels. One of the biggest mistakes that gets made when finding niches is not having the right mindset. It often comes down to people knowing the right techniques, but just not having the right mindset when finding the niches. So in this video, I just want to discuss and go over a few things you should keep in mind when going through the process of finding niches, and hopefully this will help you be a little bit more consistent and making sure you kind of know when you're on the right track or not. So first off, I want to start by saying that it's really important you understand that when it comes to niches and opportunities, just as like in any other business, niches and opportunities take time. You have to make a habit out of searching for them and patiently waiting for the right opportunity to jump on. Another thing that's really, really important to keep in mind is to not overthink when jumping into niches. If a niche fits the requirements I've talked about in the previous videos, or if a niche fits your requirements, just go for it. Just execute. You will fail regardless. Even if you fail, it's a good lesson. So don't overthink jumping into niches too much. It's a really, really dangerous trap. Also make sure to keep in mind that finding the perfect niche is extremely rare. You will always find a flaw within a niche. So make sure to, when you finally find a niche, just to keep in mind that it doesn't have to be perfect, but try to get as close to perfection as you can. So this ties into overthinking. Try to go as far as you can, but don't eliminate your own progression because of that overthinking. So again, perfection is nearly impossible. And if it's possible, it's really, really, really rare. As to the time frame of finding the right niche, that's also really important to keep in mind. Try and set a goal for yourself. I usually, when I start out on a new channel, try to set a goal like 2 weeks. I've given myself 2 weeks to find a niche, or maybe a month to find myself a niche. Try to give yourself enough time to find the right niche. You're not in a hurry. YouTube is not going anywhere. So give yourself enough time and it will come to you. So hopefully this video just kind of helps with getting you into the right mindset. And in the next few videos, I'll be explaining how to find niches. So make sure to stay tuned. All right. So this next method I call the incognito method. So essentially what we'll be doing is using incognito to find inspiration for niches you might have never thought of. So essentially what you want to do is, if you're not located in America, what often will happen if you start an incognito page like right here, you will open up YouTube and what you will see is often get recommendations from your own country. So currently I'm in Indonesia. So what you will see is that all the recommendations I'm getting, they're all Indonesian. So they're useless. Why? Because obviously with YouTube automation, you kind of want to target an American audience. So to work around this problem, what you must do is close out of your incognito tab, start up a VPN, and set your VPN to whatever American state you want to target. So for me, I recommend doing either New York, Florida, Texas, California are all good choices. So right now I'm connected to Seattle, but you can also put it to San Francisco or LA. Essentially, you want to target high RPM areas. In this way, you will probably also find the niches that people with a high income and thus high CPM or RPM will watch. So I'll just set it to San Francisco. That will work fine for this example. You can boot up your incognito page again. And in this case, you will see American recommendations. All right, so as you can see right here, we finally got a bunch of American recommendations. There's already a bunch of interesting niches in there. So for example, you can see dashcam videos. I wouldn't necessarily recommend those, but what I see right here, for example, is a tornado video. And this channel, for example, only has 20,000 subscribers. And that video blew up. It got 3 million views. So essentially, what you can do is kind of use these channels as a starting point to search between niches. So what you can do is essentially now, okay, I know people in San Francisco are watching tornado videos. That's what they find interesting. So what I'll do is I'll just search up tornado and essentially go to most viewed, then go to this month, and then press 4 to 20 minutes. So that way, you filter out shorts. And as you can see right here, for example, you find interesting channels. Like this one is not necessarily faceless, but I can imagine you can probably convert this format into a faceless YouTube channel. So as you can see, this channel is doing really, really consistent views and might be interesting to replicate as well. But again, keep in mind, these methods are just for finding you inspiration for good YouTube niches. So essentially, you can keep repeating this process. So you can go to the homepage. Okay, can I find something interesting? Not really. You just refresh. Eventually, the more you start pressing on stuff, the more fine-tuned your recommendations will become. So I recommend sometimes closing out of your incognito tab and restarting one, because it will slowly start recommending you certain videos. So yeah, make sure you keep refreshing it from time to time. But eventually you'll find some interesting niches, like you have Rebound, like the Faces channel, but keep in mind it takes time. It takes consistency to find the right niches. So I recommend to just keep scrolling, seeing if you can find any of these faceless channels. They often just appear when you least expect them. And to be honest, like what you can also do is if you see videos that consistently get a lot of views, for example, what I keep seeing is stuff about the Navy. Like apparently people in San Francisco enjoy watching Navy videos, because I've seen one here. I've seen one up top, another one about a Navy ship. And maybe you can search up Navy, see if you can find any interesting videos about the US Navy. And maybe you can start a channel in that area as well. So this is the incognito method. Again, you can kind of fine tune it to your own preference. It's more so about finding the inspiration for entering the right keywords than it is really to directly find channels. But again, it's a great method. And yeah, that's basically it. Thanks for watching. All right. In this video, I'm going to teach you one of the most basic ways to essentially find niches. It's essentially the backbone of my software NextLev. So what we're going to do here is basically the manual way of what I'm doing with NextLev. So what you do is you go to a list of words or a random word generator, like I have right here, and you're going to look through the words and essentially try and kind of like gain inspiration from these words. So essentially, I'm looking at the words and, for example, I see the word artificial in there, right? So I could think, okay, that might be an interesting niche or an interesting subject to build a channel around. So you constantly have to keep that in mind, like think about, okay, oh, is this an interesting subject, I could potentially build a whole channel around. So keep that in mind while looking through these words. So for example, another one that might be interesting is prediction. You know, predictions might be something people are interested in. So for example's sake, let's just look at artificial. So I'll type in artificial intelligence because that's what it inspired me. And then essentially what you want to do, and this is what NextLeft does as well, but automatically and then around 1 million times a day, is you have to sort by view count, and you have to then sort by 4 to 20 minutes, go to this month, and then essentially you'll get a list of all the most popular videos that have been uploaded in this month. Now what I want you to do is install vidIQ and look at the subscriber count compared to the view count. So what you're searching for is channels with high amounts of views, low amounts of subscribers. Essentially by doing this, like this channel right here, essentially by doing this, you find the newly made channels that are doing really well. So let's just scroll through and see what we find. And there you go. You can see a channel here with 200,000 views on the video and 4,000 subscribers. So that might be interesting. So what we can do is essentially have a look at the channel. It might be a very interesting channel to create a niche around. And this is basically our cornerstone to start our niche research off of. So maybe after we found this channel, we can start researching making documentary videos about GPT-4, or making documentary channels about Tesla AI, something like that. So, but essentially, this is a really easy way to find niches. You can do the same thing for all these other words like prediction. And if you run out of inspiration, you just go to the next one. Here you have another one like hostage. Maybe you can make videos about hostage situations or documentaries. Again, like you can find an infinite amount of niches using this method. So yeah, essentially it's really, really powerful. I really recommend this for beginners. And the only thing you just have to do is go through a list or use NextLeft and essentially scan through all those keywords and find the channels that have the information or have the requirements we talked about in the previous videos. And again, keep in mind you have to be very consistent with this method. So try to really make it a habit, integrate it into your daily routine. Like when you're bored at work, open your laptop, start keyword scanning. When you're in the train, and open your laptop and start doing this routine. And eventually, 100%, I guarantee you, you will find interesting niches. There are just so many different niches you can get into. Guaranteed, you will find niches with this method. So I hope this helps a ton, and thank you for watching. All right, so in this video, I'm going to tell you about a method to find niches through other social media platforms. So essentially, it's not much of a technique, it's more so of a bit of a mindset. Essentially, what I do here is I'm always watching the trends. I'm always looking at, okay, what do I get recommended on Twitter? What do I get recommended on Instagram Reels? What do I get recommended on TikTok? Say, for example, I see trends coming by. A good example of this is the president's niche, like we discussed earlier. Again, this all started as an Instagram reel, and now it's a massive niche where people are earning tens and thousands of dollars a month. So there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to social media trends. Think about Donald Trump getting arrested right now. You could probably make the same style of videos we were doing when Andrew Tate got arrested, like those news type videos or gossip type videos. You can do those videos, but with Donald Trump. And again, all these social media trends are convertible into YouTube niches. Think about ChatGPT, for example. I'll show you it with NextLeft. So I've opened ChatGPT as a keyword in NextLeft, and essentially you can literally see that channels like AI Explained, it started maybe 60 days ago, so 2 months ago. This channel has been doing 400,000 views a video, and this niche probably has a $10 plus RPM, so he's making crazy money from this niche. And essentially by tracking these trends and always trying to associate trends with potential YouTube niches, you can be the first one to start a channel like this, or one of the first people. essentially because you're not looking at competitors that already exist on YouTube, but you're transferring certain information from other industries into your own. And that's extremely powerful if you want to be ahead of the curve. So that's the social media method. Thank you for watching. In this video, we're going to discuss the transfer method. And I call it the transfer method because essentially what we're going to be doing is looking at popular formats from popular YouTubers and transferring it over to other niches. This way, you basically create the wave. You basically create new sub-niches within existing niches. So I'm just going to show you an example right here. Essentially, looking at the channel Sunnyv2. It's a very popular channel. The format is very viral and it works every single time. So essentially what we can do is look at the format and think, okay, what makes the format work? And then take that format and transfer it over to other niches. So here I found a good example. This channel, 16 videos, 12,000 subscribers, took the Sunnyv2 format, and you can definitely see the inspiration here, and is essentially pasted it in the rap niche. So he does it with rap celebrities. But for example, you could have also copied the Sunnyv2 format and put it in the tennis niche. You could take the Sunnyv2 format and apply it to Formula 1 or NBA or golf. In this way, you can create new niches that have never been done before. There's one issue with this format though. The issue is that you have to be experienced to execute this well. Essentially what happens is that most beginners just don't have the intuition to execute on something like this. If you're a beginner, you don't really understand what goes into a format like this and what exactly makes this format so viral or successful. Essentially, I would only recommend doing this type of method or innovating when you understand YouTube thoroughly. If you don't, I would recommend you stick to all the other methods we're going to discuss. So essentially, this is kind of a way to stay ahead of the wave. You're essentially creating new niches here, but the downside is it comes with more risk and you need more experience. Anyway, I hope this helped. So this next method of creating or finding niches is going to be extremely lucrative. Probably one of the most high-paying way of finding really good niches. And I call this method the high-paying niche method. And essentially what it is you look at keywords or niches which you know have a really high RPM. So look, for example, at this list. You can just find them online. You can just search up highest CPM niches on YouTube, and you'll find a bunch of lists showing you a bunch of things like day trading, digital marketing, fashion, lifestyle, content creation. Like there's a bunch of really extensive lists that you can essentially leverage. And once you have one of these lists, let's say, and you look at the list and look at the categories that are in the list, what you can do is apply the transfer method we discussed earlier and essentially create a new format in a high-paying niche that can go extremely viral. And I'm not talking about doing like really niche videos. I'm talking about trying to make a format in a high-paying niche that can attract millions and millions of viewers. So think about the following. What if we did day trading documentaries? So there are actually a few good examples. So for example, you can search up the trader that made, and then so you can search up the trader that made and then X amount. You can just come up with a certain title. Sometimes it's been done already, but again, these documentaries you can also do in entrepreneurship niches, investing niches, drop shipping, stuff like that. You can make documentaries about, or compilations. I just recommend doing documentaries, to be honest, in most cases, since they attract a really wide audience and they usually don't really have problems with monetization, as well as that if you get a sponsorship on one of these channels, you can earn massive amounts of money. For example, if you look at a channel like this, it's called Billionaire Bears. This guy has had 3 videos, and one of them got 1.1 million views in the day trading niche. That's unheard of. That's really, really rare. That's really, really rare in this niche. And he's making documentaries about day trading. So essentially, if he would put a sponsorship on this video, he probably would have made anywhere in the ballpark, if he's a good negotiator, anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 just from sponsorships on this video. So essentially, there's multiple, for example, you can see there's multiple guys making documentaries in the day trading niche, but you could literally take this idea and put it in any other high paying niche. Think about gambling, for example. You can make poker documentaries about legendary poker players, or you could make slot machine documentaries, or you could make documentaries about casinos, stuff like that can earn massive amounts of money. You could even talk about the world of online gambling. That's also a possibility. Even if it's only generating you 500,000 views a month, you can still earn so much money with this method, because essentially you only have to get a few views to become profitable. Because if the RPM is $15 to $20, you break even within a few thousand views. So this is a really overpowered method if you know how to leverage it. Again, it's kind of more for experienced players, but it's really, really overpowered. So, make sure to really look into it if you have the skill set. And I hope it was helpful. All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to use Google Trends and ChatGPT to find really good niches for YouTube. Essentially, this method will basically be utilizing Google Trends on a larger scale to target specific audiences. So say, for example, right, you run a crime channel, or you know someone who runs a crime channel that gets a nice RPM. Say they're getting an $8, they say they're getting a $6 RPM. And you also want to get a piece of that cake, but you don't know where to start. Essentially, what you can do is enter the following prompt into ChatGPT. So what you do is you go into ChatGPT and then ask it to do the following thing. List 20 keywords or topics related to crime that have high interest levels in the American states of, and then you must list the states of which you know that channel attracts a lot of viewers from. So say, for example, you have a friend that runs a channel and you ask, okay, which states are your viewers from? You can utilize this in this prompt. You don't necessarily have to do so. You can just enter United States in general. But I do this because I essentially kind of want to know what high RPM audiences are searching for, and thus increase the odds that I will find a niche that has a high RPM as well. So essentially, this is what the prompt looks like. Then you have to ask it to set the Google Trend settings to the location of America. The search source has to be YouTube, and list them from highest to lowest relative search score. You can just enter the prompt into the system, and then you will get a really, really nice overview of different topics or niches you can talk about. So, for example, what you can discuss is, if you look at these results, you can see, okay, police brutality is a really trending subject. Make sure you double check some of the relevancy of these keywords again in the real-time Google Trends, because essentially ChatGPT data has a cutoff point of 2021, like September 2021. So you have to make sure they're still relevant, but it's still a nice way to generate ideas or concepts for niches. For example, you can use it to generate topics, but you can also come up with niches. Like, for example, you could do documentaries about police brutality, or you could do videos about drug trafficking. Again, that's a really huge niche on YouTube as well. So it kind of shows you things people are searching for, and then it indirectly does also show you where the demand kind of is. And then if you know where the demand is, the only thing you have to check is if the supply is really strong. And if the supply is not really strong, you might have found a really, really interesting niche. So you can just go in, type in the keywords, check what you can find. If you do like the keyword scanning method, so this month, and then 40-20 minutes, and then have a look if you can find, you know, the the low sub and high view channel. Like for example, we have here, we have this one. It's not monetized yet, but it's putting some decent views, nothing too crazy. The thumbnails are really bad. The videos are probably also pretty bad. But then again, you know, you find some interesting channels. So again, ChatGPT plus Google Trends can be an extremely helpful tool to find you good niches. Thanks for watching. All right, so in this video, I'm going to talk about starting niches in other languages. So essentially what we're going to do is take big niches from the American market and transfer them over to other languages. Think about Spanish, Portuguese, and French language. So there's a few really important factors to keep in mind. Like, I have a quick example for you here before we get into that. But make sure you pay attention into this video, because there's a few really important strategic points I have to discuss with you before you ever start a multilingual channel. So just look at this example, for example, here. You have my court cases channel, and you can literally transfer this over to Spanish, and someone did it already. So you have court cases, and then you have this guy who essentially is also doing court cases, but in Spanish, and he's getting millions and millions of views. And usually, and that's the really nice part about Spanish channels or French channels, is that they're not yet on the quality level American channels are. So you can easily take over these niches. So what I recommend doing if you want to start a channel in Spanish, because there's a few really nice advantages. Those are, for example, that again, the quality in those languages are not as high. It's not as saturated, and you can really simply take concepts from American channels and transfer them over to Spanish channels. So for the languages, I recommend you stick with French or Spanish and maybe a bit of German. But I would definitely recommend Spanish and French, because most people in France and Spanish only speak French and Spanish. And that basically ensures that they only watch, you know, Spanish or French YouTube channels. So essentially what the next step is look at bigger YouTube channels. Like SunnyV2 is a good example. Maybe things like really broad YouTube channels, like Not What You Think. It's a show about military equipment and military vehicles. You can easily transfer this over to a Spanish language as well. Keep in mind, try to stay either as broad as possible. So you either need to get a ton of views because the RPM is lower, or you need to focus on high RPM channels. So it's one or the other. You can't be in the middle. You can't be in a niche where it's like, okay, the views are medium and the RPM is also medium. You either need to be at large amounts of views or really high RPM. So a good example for a high RPM Spanish channel might be law of attraction or motivational or something, or like something to do with investing might be good niches for a Spanish channel. So yeah, essentially what you just can do with Spanish channels is literally just look up the like big cash cow channels in America, then look at the keywords they're using, like aircraft carrier or crime, translate it into Spanish, like for example Momentos de la Corte, and then essentially use the keyword scanning method to find potential competitors in Spain. If there's, and then again, if you see those right signals, like it's been done before, it works, a lot of new channels are popping off, you can enter that niche very easily. So you can find a bunch of really interesting niches in Spanish, and it might be a really good move if your second language is Spanish as well. But again, the big disadvantage of this is, of course, less sponsorships. The RPM is also lower. So yeah, every upside has its downside. So again, keep this in mind. It is a nice opportunity though, if you understand the culture, if you understand what Spanish or French people click on, it might be a good option for you. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. All right, so before we get into any explanations or tutorials, I first want to let you understand what Next Level was made for and who benefits from using NextLev. Because if you understand this, you can understand the tool NextLev way better. NextLev is made to scan the entire YouTube content market and find you pockets or opportunities where the demand is extremely high and the supply is very, very low or low quality. Now, to get you to understand better who NextLev is actually meant for, I want to explain to you why those high demand and low supply areas are so valuable. Now, I will do this by showing you two different types of approaches or pathways to doing YouTube. The first way would be the investor's way of doing YouTube. The investor is essentially someone who's trying to get an audience interested in them or something they already own. So for example, investors would make remarkable content that are pushing the boundaries of YouTube and maybe never been done before to try and create demand around that remarkability. A good example around this is, for example, MrBeast. He keeps making content that's so unique that people have more and more demand for his content. Now, the best part about being an investor is that it's a very sustainable strategy. So an investor creates the demand around their content, and then what essentially happens is once there is a lot of demand, they will be the only one to give away that supply. So the investor strategy is something that's more sustainable. There are a few problems with this investor strategy. Now, the first one is it takes an extremely long time to build that demand around a person or a specific subject if there isn't already existing demand. So that's one. Two is, if you're an investor, it takes ages to essentially make sure that your content is actually even something people want to watch, or that there's actually demand for the idea you've had with your YouTube channel. So there's going to be a lot of trial and error, a lot of time invested, a lot of money invested to find out, okay, what works, what doesn't work. And it's a very long way and thus a big investment. So that's why it's called investor strategy. So that's the downside. So for people who want to essentially grow their channels quickly, investor way is not a good way to do it. And NextLev also doesn't cater to a investor strategy. So an investor strategy would be, starting a channel, coming up with ideas in a specific niche without any backing of data and trying to optimize videos until they go viral. Now, NextLev is not made to optimize videos. It is made to find already existing opportunities. So with that being said, we come to the second pathway of doing YouTube. The second pathway of doing YouTube would essentially be the trader's way. And now the trader's way is someone who goes around YouTube and searches for those pockets or niches with very high demand and very low supply. Now, once they find this pocket, they will execute on it. They will create a channel or videos around that same topic. And because they know, okay, for example, they know how much demand there is, and they also thus know how much profitability such a channel can generate or a video around that topic can generate. They also know that there is existing demand, so they're not just shooting in the dark. They already know there's an existing market for the content they're going to create. And thirdly, they have already proven examples of what works for that specific audience or that specific demand, essentially. So if you're an investor and you create and you're constantly pushing the boundaries, right, you have no inspiration to work off. Now, a trader already has that inspiration to work off. They already have had someone that went out there, pioneered the way, and essentially they can just model after those people. And that way, the trader's way of YouTube is faster and way more reliable for viral and profitable growth. So NextLev is really, really catered to the trader's way of doing YouTube. It's not made for optimizing. It's made for opportunities and finding and identifying those opportunities. So essentially, to summarize it, NextLev is not made for people doing the investor strategy. That's where you already have a chosen niche, a very specific chosen niche. You already have some tunnel vision on that niche, so you only want to work within that niche, and you're trying to optimize that content. NextLev is not made for optimizing one specific niche or finding opportunities within one very, very small niche. It's made to find opportunities across all of YouTube. So that's one. And then secondly, for the people who would really benefit from using NextLev, those are the people who don't care what niche they're going to enter. Those are the people who are okay with, trying something out. If it doesn't work, they move into the next thing. And that's where NextLev comes in really handy, because you can essentially try something out. Okay, if it doesn't work, you just use NextLev for a bit, you find another opportunity, and you execute on it again. Essentially the trader's way of doing YouTube. Now, lastly, I wanted to give some examples of what you can use NextLev for. So NextLev you can use for, obviously, finding those high demand and low supply niches or opportunities. Secondly, you can find high demand and low supply formats. So if you have a bunch of channels with the same format, you can kind of find them on NextLev as well. You can also find some more specific opportunities on YouTube. So for example, if you're searching for specific types of channels with specific metrics, then NextLev could be useful to you as well. For example, if you're a marketer or a brand looking to, sponsor specific types of YouTubers with specific metrics, then you could use NextLev to find those smaller channels and opportunities as well. So with that being said, I hope you now understand for who and for what NextLev is, and this will hopefully help you make better decisions and also help you decide if NextLev is something for you. It will also help you better understand the tool itself. Thank you for watching. All right, so in this video, we'll be talking about all the filter points in the advanced filter tool within NextLev. So we're going to be going over each and every one of these filter points or metrics. I'll explain them to you, and I'll also give some tips when using those certain filter points. So starting off, before we get into the channel filters and the keyword filters, I first want you to understand that obviously there are a finite amount of channels and opportunities on YouTube. So if you make these filters very specific, what will happen is you won't get a lot of results. So make sure that when you're filtering, you're very due diligent with trying to make sure that you just tweak the filter points a little bit. Don't make them too specific, just start very broad. So make the filter points very broad, and then slowly niche down if you can't find any more interesting opportunities. So with that being said, let's have a look at the channel filters. So within NextLev and the advanced filter tool, you have two different types of filters. You have the channel filters, as you can see up here, and you have the keyword filters, as you can see down here. Now, the channel filters are essentially filters that apply to the metrics a certain YouTube channel has. A keyword filter is essentially there to filter out certain metrics keywords are connected to. So let's say within a keyword, you want there to be a minimum amount of 10 channels, then you can do this right there. So this won't affect what channels you'll be seeing, but it will affect what keywords you will be shown. So this will affect what keywords you'll be shown. This will affect what channels you'll be shown. So with that being said, let's first kick off with the channel filters. Now, the channel filters starts off with the first video upload date. Now, the first video upload date is there so you can essentially select channels that have started in a certain time period. So let's say I only want to see channels that have started in the last year. You can simply go to January 1 and August 25. And let's check if that's working correctly. And there you go. So now it will only show me channels that had their first video uploaded within this time frame. So this is a very powerful tool. This is one of the tools I would recommend using very much. But keep in mind, if you select channels that have started in the last 2 months and you do the average views up to 500,000 per video, the chance that there's channels that started in the last 1 or 2 months and that have 500,000 views per video is very low. So keep that in mind, that if you tweak one and tweak another, that it might become very specific. So yeah. This is the first video upload date filter. So coming up next is the subscriber count. Now, this is very straightforward. I wouldn't recommend tweaking the subscriber count too much. It's simply therefore, okay, if you are searching for more established and bigger channels, you can slide the thing upwards. So now it only shows you channels between 300k subscribers and 500k subscribers. Or if you want to show all the channels, then you can do it in this way as well. And let's say you don't want to see any small channels, you can slide it up where it only shows you channels between 15k subscribers and 500k subscribers. Next up is the RPM filter. Now, before we get into the RPM filter, I want to explain what RPM exactly is. RPM is the rate per mile, or how many dollars a YouTube channel gets paid per 1,000 views. So let's say you only want to see channels that get paid a high amount of money per 1,000 views. You can size this up to $11, and if you do this, you will mostly get videos in the finance niche, gambling, dropshipping niche. Those types of channels you will see if you slide the filter very, very high. If you do it more towards the low side, you will, for example, more get channels that are related to sports or kids content. So again, by tweaking the RPM, you can find different types of opportunities and channels. Next up is the views per month. Now, the views per month, as of the time of this recording, is currently not yet available. It should be added in the next 3 weeks or so. But the views per month is a super powerful filter tool, because it allows you to essentially find channels that are getting a specific amount of views per month. So let's say you want to find channels that get like between 2 and 3 million views per month. You can do that. If you want to find channels that are getting more than 5 million views per month, you can do that. So this way you can find channels that have really, really high demand and very, very consistent amounts of views. Same thing for the monthly projected revenue. Let's say you only want to see channels that are earning a minimum X amount of money per month. You can also do this with the monthly projected amount of revenue filter, but those are currently not yet available as of the date of this recording. So moving on, we have the channel categories. Now, this is very straightforward. You can just select what categories or what channels you want to see. So let's say I only want to see channels in the anime, architecture niche, or in the auto racing niche, basketball niche. You can all select those, and then it will only show you channels within those categories. So that's very straightforward. Next up is the average view count per video. Now, this is a very, very, very powerful tool, and I would recommend playing around with this one the most, because essentially what this does is it will kind of show you how consistent the channel is getting views, and if the channel has a good amount of traction. So this is my favorite filter, and it will really help you find the right channel. So I, for example, would a lot of the times I only want to see channels above 100,000 views. And yeah, essentially this will make sure that you will find those larger channels as well. So I would stay away from subscriber count and instead tweak average views, because it doesn't really matter what subscriber count a channel has. It more so matters how many views they're getting and how much money they're earning, right? So yeah, that's what average views per video does. One thing you do have to take note of with average views per video is that an average essentially is very susceptible to skewing. Essentially, let's say you have 3 videos on the channel. One video with 1,000 views, another video with 1,000 views, and one video with 1 million views. Obviously, like the median will be around 1,000 views per video, but the average views will say like something like 300k per video, which is not really what is going on in reality, right? So you have to keep that in mind, that the average views per video filter point is susceptible to data skewing. So sometimes the videos might not be getting as many views as you expected, because one of the videos is just an outlier and has like 25 million views, which drags the average views per video up considerably. Now, the next one would be number of uploads. So let's say you only want a channel to have a low number of uploads. You can just drag this down essentially, and then it will only show you channels that have less than 200 videos uploaded. And let's say you only want a channel that has perhaps 10 videos uploaded, you can even do that here as well. Same thing with total revenue generated. Let's say you want a channel that has generated close to $1 million, you can slide this up. And let's say you want channels that are kind of in between there, you can just kind of slide it down, and you find the middle type of channels that are earning between $200k and $650,000. So that's that. Now we have the number of uploads per week. Now this is a very interesting and powerful filter, because the number of uploads per week can show you what type of channel it is. So what you have to think about is that documentary channels often upload less than, for example, news type channels. Like news type channels upload maybe once a day, documentaries maybe 3 times a week, or maybe even 1 time a month. So this way you can also kind of control what type of channels you're going to be seeing, and perhaps you can also identify opportunities in niches where, you know, perhaps they get a high average views per video, so the views are very consistent on each documentary they upload, but they just don't upload too much. And in that case you can find those those opportunities. But then again, keep in mind that as you start tweaking this filter, it might really limit the results you'll be getting. So be wary of, you know, changing these filters very extensively, like for example doing only 1 upload per week. You know, then you'll get very limited amounts of results. So keep that in mind. Now with the average video length in minutes filter, you can filter out also different types of channels. So let's say you want to start a channel that has a format or a niche where people like to watch, you know, shorter videos. You can do that here as well. Maybe you want to get into niches where you want to make very long documentaries. You can also do it here. So if you do this, something like this, you will find more documentary or interview or podcast type channels. So again, these things will help you find certain types or different categories of opportunities. Let's say you want to make sure that you find a niche where the channels you are shown are still active. That's where the last video uploaded filter comes in. So it works exactly the same as the first video upload date. You kind of want to see that, okay, the channel I am being shown needs to have a video uploaded in the last 2 months. So that's what you can essentially do here, is you can simply say, okay, I want the channel to have at least 1 video uploaded in the last 2 months. And yeah, that could be very helpful if you're looking for active channels instead of channels that, you know, are maybe no longer active. So moving on to total channel views. I think this is kind of obvious how this works. If you want to find bigger channels with a lot of views, you can slide this up. If you want to find smaller channels, you can slide it down. Then you have the shorts filter. Now you have to keep this in mind. If you press no on the shorts filter, if the channel has 1 short on it, that channel will not be shown in Nextlev. So keep that in mind, that it will also very much limit your results if you press no. So any channel with a single short on that channel will not be shown in Nextlev. So if you press yes, it will only show you shorts channels. And if you press all, it will show you a mix of both shorts channels and channels that don't have any shorts on them. Now, with monetized, it's the same story. You can either only find channels that are monetized or channels that are not monetized, or both mixed together. So again, by tweaking this, you will get a bunch of different results. Like obviously, if you press all, you'll get a bunch more results than if you press yes or no. All right. With that being said, those were the channel filters. Now we're going to move on to the keyword filters and what each metric means. Now, the keyword filters, you have to understand, apply to keywords and not to channels. It applies to an average between all the channels within a certain keyword. So starting off with the channel count. So let's say we have the keyword crime. In the keyword crime, you can select how many channels you want to be attached to that keyword. So let's say you want to search for less saturated niches where there's only X amount of competition, right? You can slide the channel count filter a little bit down. So that way you won't find channels or niches or categories that are that have maybe thousands and thousands of channels within them. So this makes sure that you find more exclusive opportunities if you're filtering on keywords, right? Same thing goes with keyword RPM. It looks at the keyword and it gives an average RPM for all the channels inside. And this way you can kind of gauge if it's a high RPM keyword or low RPM keyword. Same thing for the keyword category. So this channel category is based off if we look at the last 30 titles of a channel, and then we make like an average decision, okay, between all those 30 titles, what is the most common theme? And that's how we categorize our channels. With the keyword category, we only look at the keyword itself. So for example, if the keyword is Airbnb, it will most likely go into travel or something like real estate. And that's essentially what the keyword category is about. So those two are calculated in a different way. Total subscriptions, again, this shows all the channels combined within one keyword. How many subscriptions do they have in total? This will kind of allow you to filter in between, okay, how many really big channels are within one keyword. That is what the total subscription filter essentially does, is say you want to find keywords that have very large channels within them or very large amounts of subscribers in them, you can filter that upwards. If you want to have keywords that have tiny amounts of subscriptions within them, you can filter that downward. Now you have the average time since start date. Now let's say you're searching for newer niches, like very brand new types of categories or niches or trends. This is one of my favorite filters in the keyword filter section is the average time since start date. It shows the average time of all the channels connected to the keyword when their first video was uploaded. So let's say you want to find a niche that has recently started. Well, you can do it with this because usually the channels have also recently started, so that will reflect in average time since start date. And then you also have new channels since last month. Again, like we scrape all these channels monthly. So let's say we see a very large increase in channels, like you want a minimum of 3 new channels in the last month. You can select that in here. So that's that. Lastly, you can press reset filter if you want to reset the filter to normal. And then it will set the filter and you can start anew. So I hope that was valuable information and thank you very much for watching. All right, now let's have a look at the different filtering environments within Nextlev, because we don't only have one filter environment. We have 3. We have the homepage filter, we have the keyword filter, and the channel page filter. Now the homepage filter encapsulates everything. It will essentially show you every different type of filter we have. The keyword filter allows you to filter through different keywords, and the channel filter allows you to filter through different channels. Now, you can also do these simultaneously through the homepage, but again, I would suggest going from a top-down view, first looking at keywords and then going down to different types of channels, because it helps you identify interesting categories or topics within those channels before you click on the channels themselves. So, all right, let's have a start. So let's just start filtering, and I'll explain as we go down our filters. So let's just say I want to see channels that started in 2023. So again, I'll go like here and I go back to August 25th. And then we'll go over to, I want the channels to be monetized. I want them to not have any shorts. And I want the average views on these channels to be higher than, let's say, 200,000. And then I would like perhaps to make sure that the RPM is a little bit higher than 1, maybe let's say 4. All right, so now we've selected our filters. In this case, I didn't touch the keyword filters because that would limit my results a bit too much. But as you can see right here, we have our keyword filter environment. Now, the keyword filter environment has a bunch of different features. So starting off with the bar up here. If you look at the bar up here, you can essentially sort from highest to lowest or lowest to highest on different metrics. So let's say I want to show the lowest to highest the average views. I can just press this and that's essentially what it will do. So it shows now the lowest average views per video, because obviously we selected 200,000. The lowest will be near 200,000. And if I do highest, it will show the highest, which will be war in this case. Same thing goes for subscriber. So this is the lowest subscriber count. This is the highest average subscriber count. Then you can do the same thing for total channels, average days in start, and average amounts of uploads. Obviously in the keyword filter, you can keep adjusting your filters. So let's say you think, okay, maybe I can adjust my filters a little bit more so I can get better results. You can adjust them here, and then you can press go again and see what you find. All right, moving on, you also have a filter applied section. So let's say you're not seeing any results. I would suggest just removing those filters and perhaps reloading the page. So you remove all the filters and you see all the results once again. And another really neat feature we have is hide revealed keywords. So as you can see, there is a I next to each keyword that I have already encountered before. If I've revealed this keyword before by doing this, essentially it will save that, and I can hide those keywords. This way I won't see them. So as you can see, all these keywords I've not seen before, and that's really handy. So let's just have a look through the metrics you can see. So as you can see, if you look at the keywords, you have different types of metrics. So you have your average views per video. I've explained what this metric does before. You have your average subscriber count, so the average amounts of subscribers within that keyword. You have your total amounts of channels within that keyword. So as you can see, 1 out of the 5 channels that are in the keyword spending match our filters. That's what this means. The average day since start. So the average start date of all these channels combined is 109, and the average amounts of uploads across all these channels are 108. As you can see, you can also see the average RPM, which is 8.4 in this case, the monetized channel ratio, which basically shows out of all the channels how many are monetized. So as you can see, out of the one channel that we're going to see when we click on spending, one is monetized. So yeah, that's essentially what it does. Then you can see the category. So the keyword is spending, the category is finance, and the total amount of subscribers within this within the channels that match our filter points is nearly 300,000. So that's essentially the keyword page. That's what it does. That's what each of these mean. Another thing or another neat thing you have here is that you can save a keyword. So if you save a keyword, again, it works the same as saving a channel. You can create new, enter a list, and you can essentially save the keyword to your saved keyword list. So with that being said, we've gone over the keyword environment. Now we will go over the channel environment. So let's move on to the channel environment and have a look. So as you can see, instead of displaying keywords now, it's showing channels. So you can directly see channels instead of going through the keywords first. So let's keep these filters the same, and perhaps we can hide the reveal channels, but I think I'll leave that open for now. And we can sort by lowest amounts of views first. So you can basically just click through these channels, see what they are about. So this one is in psychology. I'm not sure what this is. This is about boxing, as you can see, and it started around 80 days ago. We can see what this channel is about. As you can see, it has 19 videos and over 100k subscribers, so that's very impressive for a small channel. So yeah, you can very quickly find interesting niches with this method. So if we go back and scroll down, yeah, you will see that there's a bunch of interesting niches. So for example, Rap Daily might be an interesting channel. As you can see, there's 80 videos and they're getting 1.4 million views. Hyperspeed has 28 uploads. And as you can see, these are also quite interesting channels, 1.3 million, 700k, and all 2 weeks old. So yeah, very interesting, as you can see right here. Again, these have the same metrics as you have Again, these channels have the same types of metrics you have in essentially your filter points or your channel filter tool. As you can see, this displays if a channel has YouTube Shorts, and this channel doesn't have any YouTube Shorts. It shows the average monthly upload frequency. It shows the RPM, the total revenue generated, the average video length of the channel, what niche it's in, when the last video was uploaded. So it's very convenient. You can really quickly see if it's an interesting channel, yes or no. So again, this environment works pretty similar to your keyword filter environment, only it shows the channels directly. So that's the difference between those two. So now you understand what everything does. In the next videos, we'll be talking about how to best use these tools. Thank you very much for watching. Alright, so in this video, we'll be talking about the features of Nextlev AI. Now, Nextlev AI is currently still in its beta stage as of this recording. I will re-record a new tutorial when we have the full features launched, but for now I will give a beta tutorial or a feature overview of NextLev AI. So let's head into our NextLev AI and we can explore the features. All right, so let's have a look. So when you open NextLev AI, you can essentially interact with YouTube data using ChatGPT. Now, we will start expanding a lot on potential features for NextLev AI, and this is by far a very, very basic version. But I will do a walkthrough of everything you're currently able to do. So right now, NextLev AI is basically an AI version of the filter tool. So you have to really think about it as a filter tool, and it's not yet an AI that can grasp the context of each and every channel. We're working on it, but it's not yet able to understand the relation between what a channel is about and the actual channel. So you still have to mainly rely on the metrics to find the right types of channels right now. All right, so starting off, we have essentially a few example prompts that you can use. Now, these are very, very basic. You can make them way more extensive than these, but yeah, you can use these essentially as a guideline. So, for example, you can say, provide me YouTube channels that have an average view count exceeding 10,000 views. Now, this is not a very good prompt, but again, it shows an example. So you can find channels that exceed certain metrics. So, for example, you can say something like, I want to see channels that have above 100,000 views on average per video. I want to have channels that started in the last 365 days. I want to have channels that are monetized. You can ask all those questions to NextLev AI. So what you can also do, which is very, very interesting about NextLev AI, is you can do something like, okay, first come up with a few channels. So let's start with a basic prompt like, give me 5 YouTube channels started in the last 6 months that have an average view count higher than, let's say, 250K, are monetized, have no shorts, and let's say something, have an RPM higher than $5. All right, so you can just give it a prompt like this. Again, it works like the filter tools. As you can see, I'm giving it those filter metrics to go off, and it will start loading, and it will find the channels that fit this prompt. So as you can see, you will find a bunch of different channels, and let's say you see an interesting channel in here. Now, let's say we wanna find more channels like the channel Lark E or something like that. That's what it's called. So what you can do then is you can literally ask NextLev AI, find me more channels that have similar metrics to Lark C. So if you ask this, it will essentially find channels that have very similar metrics to the channel you mentioned. So that's one very powerful feature. You can very easily iterate your results by just saying, okay, I find out of these 5 channels, I find this one the most interesting. Okay, now find me more channels that are very similar. So if you look at these channels, they can be very interesting potential niches, right? So you can keep doing this, and this is one way of finding inspiration for channels. You can just keep saying like, oh, find me more channels like Super Prime, find me more channels like Mission to the Loot. And this way you can find a lot of inspiration using NextLev AI. So that's essentially the features. This is a very short tutorial. We will dive into best practices for NextLev AI later in another tutorial. But yeah, for now, you can essentially, every metric you see in the channel filters, you can ask on NextLev AI as well. So if you want subscriber count, RPM, channel category, average views, number of uploads, those things you can all ask NextLev AI to find you channels around. You can even find keywords on NextLev AI. So for example, you can say something like, find me 5 keywords that have channels that have an average view count higher than 1 million, that started in 2023. They have to be monetized and as you can see, you can just query something like this, and it will then again load the keywords in, and you can then do the same things you do with the channel. So as you can see, voila, it's showing you channels above 1 million views, and the channels should be, you know, monetized. Again, it also even filters out the channels that aren't monetized. So if you click on this right now, you will see the channels that are monetized. So yeah, that's essentially what Nextlev AI does. You can again, if you would like to ask, give me more channels, or more keywords similar to the keyword female or street or rescue. You can even filter by category. You can ask, give me channels related to a certain sport or a certain hobby or a certain category like crime. You can ask follow-up questions like, what is the average number of channels per each keyword above? And then it will give you the average number of channels per each keyword is above is 1. So as you can see, it's 1. So yeah, you can ask a lot of different types of questions, and that can be very useful. Like you can ask, okay, what's the average RPM? What is the total amount of subscribers of all these channels? You can do a bunch of these things, and later on we will also add topic integration, so you can also find video topics and videos directly in Nextlev AI, and essentially it will become ChatGPT with YouTube data integrated. So for now, this is a very basic version. It will become much more powerful, especially when we have historic data, so we can track trends with Nextlev AI as well. But yeah, these are the main features of Nextlev AI, so feel free to play around with them. And yeah, I hope this video was very valuable, and thank you very much for watching. All right, now we get into the really interesting stuff. We're going to find, let's say, 5 interesting niches on Nextlev in the next few minutes. I'm just going to say what I think during the process of which I'm using Nextlev, and essentially I'm going to show you what my thought process is while using it, and I'll show you how quickly you can actually find interesting channels or niches. So let's go over to the computer and we'll start the timer. So all right, we're in the channel filter tool. This is the first tool I'll be using for this video. Then in the next video, we'll use Nextlev AI to find niches. So let's go ahead and find some interesting niches. So obviously the thing I always add is the first video upload date, because recency is very important. So let's say we'll add November to this thing, just to broaden our search results, because as first when you start using the channel filter, you want to make sure you know, you start a little bit broad so you can see everything up front. So subscriber count, I'll leave a little bit untouched, but I would say I want at least channels with 3,000 subscribers. And then for RPM, I'll put that a little bit up so we avoid kids and trashy channels. For channel category, I don't really mind what niche it is in, but just for this showcase, let's try and find some niches in the crime niche. Let's say boxing, anime, finance, geopolitics. Yeah, I think that would be fine. Yeah, let's keep it to this. So, oh yeah, politics might be interesting. All right, so I made it quite specific now, and then obviously I want the average views to be a little bit higher. Let's say I usually go for 100,000, but obviously, like if you want to have like really big channels, like for example, if your RPM is really low, you want to make sure that the average views per video is very high, because you have to compensate for that low RPM, right? So it depends on what you're searching for. Now, moving on, the rest I don't really touch in this case. Shorts, I'll leave as be monetized. I'll also leave as be. If I don't get any results, it might be because there's shorts on the channels, but we'll just go for it. So let's let it load in. All right, there you go. So now you have all these keywords, as you can see right here. Now these are quite broad. Like for example, the anime keyword, there's a bunch of channels in there. But because we have all the filters enabled, we can just literally click on it and see what we find. So as you can see, you'll see a lot of anime channels. So let's go see this one. So this is all anime recap. This might be interesting, but I know there's a lot of other channels in that niche, so that's not as interesting, because again, the supply is getting higher and higher and higher. So if we go to this channel, this might be an interesting niche, the animations and anime characters reacting to certain TikTok videos. I know this does very well. I've seen multiple channels do very well in this niche, but obviously again, this RPM is quite low. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that's everything for the anime niche. As you can see, this one is also interesting, although it's quite an older channel. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my recency a little bit tighter, because I find that these channels are quite old. So let's go move up to February and then go to August, and then let's filter again and see what we find. So let's click through and see what we can find in this one. Let's click on the crime niche, see if there's any interesting stuff here. So we have the Criminist, 13 videos uploaded. As you can see, there are a few videos that are doing well, but it's not really consistent. So that's not as interesting, because again, like, they haven't figured out the format where all the videos get consistent views. So that's another really important thing you want to look out for with good niches, is that the views also need to be consistent, because then they figured out an area of supply and demand where the demand is very, very constant for that format. So let's go to Rap Rewind. It's also quite recent, 23 videos. And there's actually quite some results here. So this might be an interesting niche. What I would do next is, okay, we have a channel with 23 videos. I would check how many other channels are doing the same format. So what I would literally do is copy and paste these titles and see if there's other channels doing the exact same videos, and see how many there are. If there's a lot of them already, might be less interesting. But if every single one of them is still getting results, you can still enter that niche. But preferably you want to not see more than 5-6 channels doing the exact same format, because then it will get milked out very, very quickly. The Cinema Cop, let's see if this is anything interesting. Now this is very interesting what we have right here. I think this is like this is quite interesting. So as you can see, the results are very consistent. It's 3 months ago, very recent. As you can see, it's in the crime niche. And yeah, this is very interesting, because this format, one, performs very consistently. It's in the crime niche, and I think also in the video game niche. So I guess the RPM is going to be around 3 or 4. So if you look at the amount of views, this can be a very profitable channel. So yeah, I would say that this might be very interesting. Like, if we look at the revenue that they potentially could have generated here, the RPM is a little bit too high on the prediction, but I would say definitely around $15,000 they generated with just a few videos on this channel, 11 videos. So that's not bad. So this, again, might be an interesting channel or niche. So I'm going to save this in the crime niche. So there you go. That's number 1. So as you can see, it goes extremely quickly. So let's keep on scrolling. You can just scroll through. You can also, if you want, sort by average views, see if there are any interesting things on the lower side or on the higher side. As you can see, the cartoon recaps are doing very well. Perhaps that's maybe interesting, because I've not seen any crazy cartoon recap channels. So this one is also doing very well. Again, you want to check, because obviously, you know, the movie recap niche is quite popular. You want to see if there's too much competition here. But as you can see, this one started 5 months ago and is getting insane amounts of views per video, like literally 16 views and nearly 100k subscribers. So yeah, again, might be an interesting niche, but I have seen quite some channels doing this, so might be less interesting because there's a bit too much competition. But the other niche we found was definitely very, very interesting. So science might be interesting. This seems like, as you can see, if you look at the profile picture, this might be a personal channel, so I'll skip this for now. But yeah, you can very quickly see what you're looking for, but I would just keep that away for now. So let's see what else we can find, especially on the high side. You will find quite a lot of, especially when you're looking at higher amounts of views, you will often find a little bit more saturated niches, since, you know, obviously higher views, people will recognize that more often. Football moments, well, I mean, football moments is nice, but again, the RPM might be a little low, and there's issues with copyright, so I'll stay away from there. But as you can see, this channel is actually monetized, so it might still be worth getting into if we look at the channel. All right, let's see what else we can find. I think it's better, to be honest, to move from, let's see what's here. These seem like gaming channels that are making, yeah, these are gaming channels. Yeah, so I would stay away from these. You can really quickly see if it's a channel that's interesting, yes or no. So this police insider channel might be interesting. The body cam niche, it's a good niche to get into nowadays. Although it's getting very, very saturated, but still the views are crazy high. You just have to be careful with limited ads, copyright, stuff like that. But yeah, definitely might be an interesting channel to look into. So I see another one with horrifying crimes. Crime Dynasty Twisted. Let's see what's up here. So this also might be interesting. This format right here. 2 videos on the channel, 1.8 million views and 603k views. This might be an interesting channel to look into. And maybe you can even start a niche around people who got killed in prison, or prison stories. If you can find a pattern there around this niche of high demand, low supply, that might be an interesting niche. Now, I'll save that channel because it's quite interesting, especially for the crime niche, of course. So we'll save that in there. All right, now moving on. Like, what I would just do when you're using this tool is just keep scrolling. So you can, as you can see, a lot of these keywords I've already revealed. So maybe it's even easier for me to just do something like this and only look at the newer keywords that I haven't seen before. So this one is also looking interesting. Let's see what's here. So we have the channel Super Prime again. Again, this might be an interesting niche, but I think the videos are doing well because the quality is high. Geopolitics might be an interesting one. There you go. This might be an interesting niche. So yeah, this one has 45 videos on there, and it's doing pretty well. I think this channel is made by in the infographic show, but again, like as you can see, it does get picked up by NextLev, and yeah, you can perhaps build something around it. Let's see, something around China, same channel. All right. So what I would suggest when, for example, you feel like you've kind of milked out this section, I would recommend to essentially just revisit your filters and switch them up a little bit. Like, for example, I would say, okay, maybe lower the RPM, perhaps make the average views per video higher or lower. Perhaps I see that I have a last upload date selected. I would just probably reset the filter at that point. Sometimes all right, so when you feel like you're kind of backed in the corner and you see similar results or the same results, or you're not finding what you're searching for, I would suggest, like, again, changing the filters, trying something else, see maybe if you missed certain channels because you selected a specific filter. So again, I would say, put the channel filter up against January this year, and then go all the way up to August, and then just perhaps only look at average view count, because obviously we only were looking in those categories, and perhaps that was limiting us quite a bit. So I think this will also get quite a lot of results if we do it perhaps in this way. So we can start by sorting on lowest to highest and see what we find. I see the crash might be an interesting one. Okay, that's a BeamNG channel. That's not that interesting. All right, so if we keep scrolling, you can see that there's quite a lot of keywords here. And perhaps, like, for example, you can find interesting channels in here. You can see Inside Cruise. This channel has 18 videos uploaded, started 7 months ago, and it makes videos about cruise ships. I think these are cash cow videos. Yes, these are. No, these are actually not cash cow videos, but I think you can easily convert these into, a faceless channel. But yeah, essentially this channel is doing very, very well, doing cruise ship news, and you can pretty easily replicate it. But again, you have to check if it's a good niche. So yeah, this channel is very interesting. I'll save that because, the cruise niche, it can be very, very profitable. So I'll do something like cruise niche and see if I can find more later on. Yeah, so moving on, let's see what else we can find. I see some videos about Russia. Ooh, lore might be interesting. Let's see what's here. I think this is a Minecraft channel. Okay, that's not interesting. Yeah, so let's see what else we can find. Let's see, I see here one about celebrity drama and violence. Let's see, one's Trendspot. Let's see that channel. So yeah, this is the same same niche as that as the one we found earlier. So again, this might be an interesting niche because there's multiple channels doing pretty well. But yeah, we can keep this one on the backbone. All right, let's see what else is available. If we scroll through, we're shocking. Dino Magician. No, these two don't look like YouTube faceless channels, so you can just skip those and then see what else is available. So I decided to set the average view per video up against highest to lowest again and see what we find now. So there's a few things that are interesting. I found one in comic. That's this channel. Might be interesting. I think this has been shared before in the Discord. But yeah, I've seen a lot of comic book channels doing very well recently. Now we've got our filter points quite high, but yeah, you can definitely find some interesting stuff in here. Okay, so in the case you're endlessly scrolling, I again would recommend that you niche down your filter points. So let's say we often notice that the higher, like the very high amounts of average views per video are a little bit random channels. Like I would decrease this and perhaps also increase the average views per video to something like 80,000 just to make it a little bit less broad. And then I would also say something like number of uploads. We will tune down the number of uploaded videos because you want the smaller channels in there as well. So let's say under 50 uploads. That's usually where you find those more interesting channels. And then we press OK, go on the filter and see what we find now. So we find one about Bikini Bottom. Let's see what we have here. So these are music videos, so that might not be an interesting. All right, also what I often notice when you're scrolling through Nextlav is that obviously when you do highest to lowest views and you're looking at videos that, or channels that got like 500,000 views per video on average, what you often get is, you know, niches that are either personal channels or, you know, perhaps pretty saturated already. So what you can also do is, again, like your average views per video, that's a very important metric to look at. Set it new, like lowest to highest, and as you can see, you can find pretty interesting stuff. Like if you go to Fighter, for example, you can press here and you can find this channel, but this is a pretty interesting channel if you look at it. The views are pretty consistent, like 142k, 10k, 107k, close to 100k, and the thumbnails are really bad. So again, you can easily up the quality here. There seems to be a market for this type of content and the aviation type stories. So yeah, you can definitely make a niche out of this if you can find multiple channels doing well here. Super interesting. So yeah, you can keep going and seeing if there's anything else. Like you can literally just scroll. I see here one about monster trucks. This is BeamNG, I think. Again, you have to be careful because there's a lot of these BeamNG channels in there. Yeah, and also during that you're scrolling through Nextlav, you want to also really make sure that essentially while you're scrolling through Nextlav, you also really want to make sure that you're constantly reading the keywords and checking, okay, cold cases, for example, right here, could very much be related to crime, and thus could be an interesting niche because obviously we have a lot of you know, good cash cow channels in the crime niche, right? So if you press on cold cases, you'll get this channel, Real Crime Psychology. I've not seen this before actually, and as you can see, the recent videos haven't done as well, but these videos have done very well. I don't know why they switched away from those, but yeah, you can definitely see these videos have done pretty well. So yeah, this way you can find very interesting niches. I would suggest you would save a channel like this because again, it's very interesting. So you can literally just go here and add it to your crime category. So you can just add it here and press save. So yeah, that's very interesting. And like this, you can find thousands and thousands of other interesting niches on Nextlav. But yeah, that is the filter tool. That's how you use the filter tool to find potential niches. And I hope it was very valuable. And thank you very much for watching.